But now I am. What is up, YouTube? JankyYGO here. My name is Michael. Welcome to the podcast. We're waiting.
We're here.
We were waiting. I was waiting on Stefan, and because Stefan was playing this, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna hit record. I don't even know what game Stefan's on, but
This is game 2.
playing against Paleozoics as Sprite. So I'm just gonna trying out this Trickstar engine for, I don't know, fun.
Don't judge me. It's
But
got weird plays.
yeah,
Especially at the time right now where I can just start burning this Paleozoic player if they start activating spells and traps. I mean, that's not the reason why we're playing the engine, but
I mean, it's just
it's
another
kind of
one
hilarious.
card. It's just like a free level 2, though. Like, I get it. Oh, man.
Oh,
That's really funny.
no, Daddy, no.
That's actual comedy.
It is. I'm glad you're recording that because, wow.
That was almost dangerous.
Oh, mama. Oh, mama. Boy.
Oh, man.
I
Stealing
don't think it would be
transaction.
that.
Stealing that rollback is good, too. Not only because it keeps it out of the grave, but also, like, you could use it later if you need to on one of theirs.
Mm-hmm. I have a Cosmic in hand, so if I couldn't steal it, I was going to Cosmic that anyways.
Yeah.
Just so that it doesn't happen at a later time. Okay. So he's trying to trigger a rise to full height.
I mean,
There's no Paleozoics in there, so it's
yeah.
just going to burninate you?
Probably trying to set up for, like, other things. Like, oh, Karma Cannon. Karma Cannon.
Let's see what that is. Balance gets ashed.
Yeah. Rough time for the Paleozoic player.
Rough times ahead.
And now the Toad is back online, folks. That's how Toad works. Because it was flipped face down and flipped face up, it is now live again. Although it doesn't matter, because your opponent's out of cards, and it doesn't work on any of the cards that are in the graveyard. Johnny, play that one about falling down the stairs. You got it. Oh, Stefan's gonna sit another back row and activate another light stage. But not...
I've searched all my light stages. I don't think you're supposed to do that. 2 back rows, fine.
Use light stage on one of them, and then have
Yep.
Totally Awesome protect you from the other.
Okay, what are you summoning? Yeah, we have to stop that. No fun. Oh no, Needlebug Nest. I'll take that.
Get any good mills? They did not. And oh man, we're on to game 3. So this is more entertaining than whatever we were going to talk about on the podcast. I'm going to be honest with you.
Is it more entertaining?
I mean, we didn't really have that much of a discussion, really. We had,
yeah.
Like, you went to regionals and I didn't, but like that was about it.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun experience too. I had fun for once, so
Yeah.
It's mildly entertaining
Our
format right now. I was supposed to side out that judgment.
Our buddy top too.
Yeah. What, 5th place?
Yeah. Went 7-1.
God, what a Giga Chad.
with the Snake Eye deck. Snake Eye
So much, so much better at Yu-Gi-Oh than I am.
was it Snake? Didn't he say it was like Snake Eye Azamina? Yeah.
Yes. He actually took one of the courses on it too.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't blame him because the person he took the course from has done a lot of tops.
Mhm.
And it's a meta deck, so I think that courses on that would be correct to see what they're doing with it. And if you don't have time to research everything, I understand completely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Speaking,
Morella. Like I
yes. Speaking of courses, while I'm not offering it any courses, I have been like helping our locals and and everything by just
the
playtesting some of their decks.
the almost series.
Yeah, we need to get like 2 more decks, and then we can just have a tournament with just the amount of times they have proposed a deck
Well, Mina
idea.
is wild. Wait, why are you targeting yourself?
Okay.
Why? What? I mean, I'm a Paleozoic player, and even I know you don't do that.
Bot behavior.
Okay, so I can't OTK, so I just need to set up an unbreakable board, which is fine. Actually, I can only attack the Morella.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh, you can kill them this turn. Or no, you can't, but you can get close.
Yeah,
Okay. And they surrendered. Uh
woo!
but yeah, we've been kind of testing stuff and everything for people. Don't mind the deck that is popped up on screen for me. I was messing around with this uh terrible TCG archetype called Ashen, and yeah, I couldn't make it good, but I've tried mixing with a few. Playing it pure didn't work, so I tried throwing like Cash Tira and some of the other like engines that people will splash to make cards better. That didn't work either, and so this terrible deck list came about. Uh, but
Oh
yeah,
my god, today I found out Freebird has a 10-minute version.
that's the normal version,
What? Who would listen to a song for 10 minutes?
and most of it is just the solo.
Yeah, no thanks. Oh,
It's a classic rock
so,
song, Stefan. They're all like that.
I hated them too. A lot of them. So, like, my regional experience this time around is pretty awesome uh, because I came up with a new theory. And
Mhm.
this theory is going to be the most mind boggling thing you've ever heard before. So, if you buy my class now, it's
Mm.
$20 a person. No, I'm kidding. How to be Stefan. Um, so the theory is, and it's really basic stuff that most people should be doing anyways, but I don't think I do it enough, is that I I basically went in with this fuck around and find out kind of thing, right?
My camera's
I
not
let
gonna
my
work.
opponent mess around, I let them do their thing, and then they find out
Mm.
that I have a hand trap or something. Because I was looking at it, and there was a couple of hands where like the opponents would do things, and I'd just be like, that does nothing to me. That does nothing to me. That does nothing to me. So obviously, if they add a card to their hand and I can draw them, I'm gonna fire that off immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are hands where you're just sitting there on an infinite permanence or an ash blossom or both of them. You have to determine what effect you want to hit with it. Um, and I found out hard way that permanence can truly just dead stop people. Um, there was one game that I took off of the Labyrinth Fiendsmith player where he did his combos and everything, and I stopped a few things, and he kept going, right? And
Yeah.
finally, he hit the point where he made the Fiendsmith Link 2 that fuses, and he went effect, and I fired off the impermanence, and like all of his like color drained away, and he went, "Yep, that does it. That ends my turn." And then I beat him that game. And then he beat me game three, and then afterwards he went. I was talking about the game with him. I talk about the games with people, and he went, "You fired off that impermanence at the correct time." He's all that whole time I kept presenting really good impermanence targets, and you didn't activate it. So in my brain, I went, "That can't be impermanence. You would have used it by now." He's all, "Then you waited and fired it off on me." So I had a moment of, how does he know what I'm playing? It's only round two.
Mm.
And I went, "Nah, I have this bad interaction with Labyrinth." He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Anytime I've ever activated a trap, it's always screwed me over. So I really wanted my impermanence to hit something that I knew would be safe to hit." And he's like, "Oh, that's correct. Like what you did is the most correct thing ever to stop the deck." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll remember that." Another thing I did was I faced Crystal Beasts Brigands.
Mm.
Um, this one was great because the opponent game one just started adding all these cards to his hand and doing all this really wild stuff, and I had a single impermanence in my hand. And the whole time I'm just looking like, man, if I had a droll, this game would have been mine. But I want to see what he does and where he goes so that I know where to stop him. So my whole thought process was, I'm just going to clutch this imperm, and on my turn, I'm going to imperm whatever he brings out that's going to stop me from playing the game. Because that's the only thing that I can think of that happens. Come to find out, he's playing turtle control, right?
Yeah.
With the kaiju, you know.
And
Uh,
it's so funny because like literally, me and Stefan were just messing around, and I ended up playing World Legacy, where the whole point was to summon out the turtle with
so
like
yeah,
a
this
bunch
was
of
World
counters.
Legacy. This was World Legacy, but instead of using World Legacy, he was using Crystal Beast.
Hmm.
And I was seeing here going, "Yeah, I love this deck. I want to play this." And he plays the field spell, gets more counters on it, and then adds the kaiju to the hand. And I go, "Oh no, I know where this is going." And he had four monsters on the field, and he presents his deck for me to cut. I'm like, "Okay, you done searching?" He's all, "No. Now we're done with phase one. We move on to phase two." And I went, "Oh God, there's a phase two?" And of course, I look back at the clock and I go, "Yeah, we're doing good. He's been playing at a good pace." And he like links all four of them into Saryuja Scaldred. And he goes, "Effect." And I go, "Imperm." And he just looks at me and he goes, "Yeah. Oh God, yeah." And like he looks at it, he goes to tap it to do the special summon thing for the kaiju, and he goes, "Well, that don't work." He's all, that makes him inert for the whole turn." And I go, "Well, just go back to phase one and do everything over." He's like, "No, now we cope." So I beat him both games going second, just because. And yeah, the second game, he actually like Book of Eclipsed me, and I still had enough fuel to keep going. I just slowly built a field until I can get into the OTK and beat him. And he said I was actually the last time he faced a sprite player in this exact same round. The last time they just burned so much time on the clock because they were slow players, and I was playing at a pretty fast speed for a sprite player. And I was like, "Yeah, if you don't know your combos, then why are you playing the deck? Like sprite's not that hard to memorize the combos and play."
No, so it's just kind of funny that it kind of worked out that I literally the night before that regional I played you with that because I was just like I'm just gonna start throwing cards at you decks at you. We'll slowly move up the line because you can't because I tried a few decks, and I tried a few of Trevor's decks. Trevor's someone that goes to our locals, and I have a bunch of like his deck ideas on. And I tried a bunch of those, and I kept beating Stefan with them, and then I slowly worked my way basically to the World Legacy things and
It
everything.
should be noted. It should be noted. I was not playing Sprite at that time.
Yeah.
I was playing another deck, but I think even at that, I would have held that impermanence and really stopped the Skull Dread. But like as soon as I saw the Skull Dread, I went, I have to stop this thing. And at that point, I went, God, I am glad that this is an imperm and not an ash. So I would have fired that ash so soon. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like uh, weird. Another thing about this format I've discovered, and this is just my opinion right now, is it actually feels like there's heavier spell and trap activations in hand. Is there seeing a little less monster hand traps and more like spell and trap stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And Carrot, Sprite Carrot put in so much fucking work this last regional that I kind of wish I was running 2 Carrot and 1 red because my red almost never got its activation off. Like I feel like Carrot was a way better protection. Um, it also has better longevity because on the opponent's turn, stopping a spell or trap really powerful. Um, Especially in like the Tempai matchup, I was able to beat a Tempai player because he got into a negate war with me. And the worst part is he had the forbidden droplet. He would have won that negate war that he started, but he also forgot that he shifted himself,
Yeah.
so he couldn't droplet me. So I've learned a lot from playing in the regional.
That's
Maybe I
good.
just knew a lot because I've been doing locals lately, and
Yeah.
my locals have gotten pretty powerful, so I'm not curb stomping them. I'm actually getting curb stomped myself.
Well, that's good. It's good that you are what's it called? That you learn stuff. I think that that's always something to try to take away from things, right? So like even if you don't do well at regionals or whatever, it's important to try to see where you land or like try to learn as much as you can. I think that that's like the main takeaway of every regionals I've ever played in. Um, is that also a 10 pie player getting into a negate war? That what was that player even thinking? Uh,
I don't know. Like he tried to play through my negates on the draw phase, and I'm just like, okay, like straight up, just I was looking at it and I was like, I do this. He's like, I do this. I'm like, negate with. See, he went imperm in draw phase
mm-hmm,
on my carrot, which I guess makes sense. And I went, yeah, that's fine. He's all okay. In response, I'm going to activate my searcher as I negate with carrot, and then he just like tried to activate the droplet. I'm like, yeah, that don't work, bro. You can't send for cost. He went, oh god, and I won.
because of the
Like it's
okay, yeah, because he shifted you, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta gotta remember shifter and droplets interaction. It was like I'm under the belief that I really dislike shifter. I think it leads to less interactive games, and it just shuts off so many strategies that it's just an unfun card to play against. Um,
I mean, in Sprite, I can play underneath it. It's not as awful as it could be, um, but it's still like it still requires me to have a very specific hand. It's kind
mm,
of like Drone Lockbird. I can play under Drone Lockbird. I just have to have a very, very, very specific hand. Yeah. I was also playing the talents and the thrust. It didn't feel as powerful, but they also gave me this weird flexibility
Mm,
where I could fire off starter on my main phase and try and bait my opponent into using a hand trap on my main phase so I can resolve talents. Um, if I had thrust, though, I would fire on the draw phase because thrust don't care.
yeah. Uh,
But like my thrust target was basically just to go into talents or grab an imperm or sometimes even grab a double cross because sometimes you don't go down the line where you get the double cross off of the jet. So
mm,
like thrust just lets you get right to it. So
um,
it's
yeah, thrust in, uh, personally, this is just my thing about, like, thrust and talents. Uh, Thrust is such a good card. Like, both are good cards, but I feel like Thrust is just so strong.
yeah. Talent. I didn't use the draw effect ever, and I didn't look at the opponent's hand.
Mm-hmm.
I was mostly using it to take control of a monster. There
Uh,
was just a bunch of times where it was just like, take that problem card from you, and they'd go, yep, and I just link it away into whatever I need. Um, Against a Salmon Great player, I took their wolf and just made a gigantic out of it. So, like, I, it's interesting because in my deck, usually if I can resolve the talents,
mm-hmm.
draw two's not as good, but to take control really can just cause games. There was one game where I activated in the imperm column of my own, and I still won that game, but I would have won faster if I thought about playing around my own imperm column.
Yeah.
Well, I was against a Dino Mama deck, so you know.
Mhm.
It's like pretty good experience. I was in the tournament for longer than usual. I was doing pretty good,
Yeah,
but I
I
was
was keeping up with your guys' reports and all that, and all of you did like pretty good until like you didn't. Like,
yeah. I faced the salad player, and I probably could have played better against the salad deck. I fired my hand traps at the wrong times,
mm,
and that's on me. But I could have done better. And like, I think it was just how far it was into the tournament, and I kept facing rogue after rogue after rogue. And I finally hit like a really good deck, and I went, "Oh no, I don't have Droll to just shut this deck off right now."
yeah, I
And Salad's really good at the grind game, and my version of Sprite I was playing is not good at grind at all. I'm kind of better at just control and then kill.
makes
And
sense.
my opponent was really skilled. Like he was a super skilled player. Like I finally like I sat down across from him. I saw his playmat and everything. We got moved to a different table because there was no space for us. And I sat down across from him and went, "Gosh darn it, I got a dragon. Or
Mm,
I got a tiger." And he just kind of laughs and I laugh and I go, like usual, like I made it to like table 23 or something. And I
yeah.
sat down. That was like round two, and I just look around like I don't belong here, and everyone just laughs, and I go, "It's true though."
Uh, um, yeah. It's kind of funny. I Seattle Regional, which is the one you went to, by the way, is like it's almost always like super crowded and gives you like hardly any elbow room. But I've heard this
The
time it
lower
wasn't.
tables had more space.
Yeah.
Lower, more space. It was the upper tables where everything was really cramped, and I don't know why they did it there. Like usually it's the opposite. The only
Uh.
thing I could think is there was heavier set players up there too, and I'm pretty heavy set too. And
Yeah.
I think that's the issue is that they just don't account for us fat people.
Um. last time I was in Seattle, it wasn't the higher tables that was the issue, and it really wasn't like the super low tables. It was like the middle. It was like the middle tables that were like the issue. So, like
Yeah,
tables like from like 50 to like 100, like that was like the issue. Is like in that range. They had like 100 players just like really squished together. But like when I was at like table 10 or whatever, and with Tempai last time there, it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't really. It wasn't really that big of an issue, for tables for like elbow room.
yeah, it was crazy. Like I I don't know. I hate the fact that there's almost never table space, and this time they spaced it out, but they still somehow messed up the top tables.
Uh, I stand
But
by.
they're trying.
Yeah, I stand by that the best run events for low for like nearby is always Salem.
Yeah,
I'd say
like
nearby.
I've
Each one is like
never
a
been
multiple hour drive,
sad.
but you know,
I've never been sad with Salem.
the only issue I have with Salem is that there isn't a ton of like places to eat right around the event center. Like that's just
Yeah.
about it. So like,
Ooh, speaking of Seattle, though,
yeah.
they had deodorant.
I I
They had
remember.
spray on deodorant. And like I was standing there waiting in line, and I was like front of the line, and all the other people I came with are like, we have deodorant right here, we have deodorant right here. They didn't say a fucking word to me, but I really wanted to just put my arms up, T-post down, and be like, spray me up, boys. I did my usual morning shower, put on my extra layer of deodorant,
Yeah.
uh, I also pulled the, and I found out one of the other players, AJ, does it too, where you put the deodorant in a lot of different places. You get real sweaty in those buildings,
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I overuse my deodorant. Like I spray a
So
whole lot around.
so I use the stick. I don't use the spray, but I'll like put some on the
I
back of
have
my
a spray
neck.
bottle specifically for regionals.
I'll put like some on the back of my neck, and like a small on my forehead, and like but like
Yeah,
mainly it's mainly on like the normal places, and I reapply it throughout the day when I'm at regionals, because even though it's supposed to last 24 hours or whatever, or 48
it never
hours,
does.
it never does. And even if it would, they don't account you to sweat as much as you do in those things, because you're like 300 people in like a at minimum in like a box, and like a freaking yeah, and like a pretty much a small box of a room.
Yeah, there's like 200 this time, so it was a smaller Seattle one.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a symptom of the game though. I know that in
Yeah,
certain places it's recovering, and in other places it's not. From the last time we talked about like how Cancun had like 500 less players, but someone brought up a good point that I saw on Twitter, that it could have just been the fact that Cancun and like the whole Gulf has been in like hurricane warning for like a long time
oh
now.
yeah.
So
Ain't nobody want to go and get freaking. But yeah, I think the game is slowly recovering from this. Um,
the three best decks are
I
still the same though. It's still Tempai,
I
Yubel, and Snake Eyes, but
Snake Eyes. I had a lot of fun. Um, we I hung out with the boys, and
mm,
um, this time I went up with James and another friend, so that was pretty cool. Uh, I definitely I think I'm doing better at regionals too, and maybe I'm a little more happy with them because I do play locals every week now.
yeah,
So I get so much more testing than just online testing. I'm not last minute having to put a deck together because I haven't played physical Yu-Gi-Oh in months. Um, which is wild to think. that even when I was doing my best, usually I was just playing Yu-Gi-Oh with a deck that was put together at the event.
The one time you topped, you literally built your deck at the top at the event itself.
Yep. I just bought what I needed from the case, got the cards from my friends, and went, all right, we're doing it. And like I remember one of the trips was, Trevor's like, what deck are you playing? I'm just shuffling like 15 cards. I'm like, I don't know, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Mm.
I think that was a bad showing on my part because, you know, I practiced with Paleozoic Frog
Mm-hmm.
so long. It was a matter of me just putting the deck together and playing it and not showing a terrible example of, oh, I could just top with this deck. Like, no, I just put hours into playing the deck, so I just had to figure out which variant I wanted to run. On looking at the case, I was kind of able to make a determination on what I should play. Um, I wish I was that smart still, but I'm not because I don't keep up with the game that well.
Um, I think, yeah, I don't keep up with the game. Well, I try to keep up with the game, and everything, and usually do a little bit better job at it than you do. But like, it's kind of hard, especially to like when I'm not playing physical Yu-Gi-Oh a lot. Because now you and I are kind of in the reverse situations of where we were, where I would get to go to locals and you wouldn't, and now it's vice versa. You get to go to locals and I don't really get to go.
Yeah, I gotta say though, like the you just to get better at the game, you do have to play more.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people don't like that. Like, just practice. That's all it takes. I mean, you can play your silly decks and do good with it. You just have to set your expectations. Do I expect I'm going to top the event with my sprite deck? Probably not, but
It's
I'm going to at least hit the rogue tier.
it's also important for when you test to try to test against as many people as possible, and specifically best case scenario is better players. You want to
Yeah,
play against as
I mean,
many better players as you possibly can. Um,
I think I've kind of extended the olive branch to a lot of our other uh, friends and stuff to try and set up groups to play online and stuff for them to improve. Which I
yeah,
had a lot of fun doing that. Like that was a lot of fun. Like I get it. I kind of make fun of the decks where people are mixing things, but I genuinely do like playing Yu-Gi-Oh and seeing those mixtures. I guess I'll mix decks together and get myself used to the deck that I'm mixing it with, and then I'll be like, why am I just not playing the pure version? And I go and play the pure version, you know?
it
But
also
I don't
depends on
see
the
some of the
decks.
other people and I don't see people that we know doing that exact same thing. So I think it frustrates me more than it should.
Um,
Because if I can figure it out and do it, then
my issue with the way so the problem is what they're choosing to mix with, and it's not making it makes sure you could make the argument it's making their bad deck better, but what they fail to
making a
realize
good deck
is
worse.
you're making the good deck a lot worse too.
Like, so I also developed this theory. I think I told you about it that on Playground Yu Gi Oh! Everyone had a particular deck style that they liked to play.
Mm-hmm.
You had your fiend guys, you had your machine guys, you had your magician guys. You had these really unique things.
You had the
So I
dragon
understand
guys.
you got the dragon guys, which makes sense. So I understand now that when I tell people that their deck sucks and that they need to do something different, that I am actually insulting them because I am basically looking at them and saying, your personality sucks, change it. And I have to learn how to not be so mean like that and be easier about it. But it's because it's like it is their projection of them, and I am straight up denying them. On as awful as that sounds, that's crazy because
Yeah, I
it
mean,
makes a lot of
a
sense.
lot of the
Like, because
people,
I'm a competitive player, but I'm also a super casual player. You can't say that I'm like, a huge tournament nut, best player ever. Like, I still fall under the casual moniker,
yeah,
but I think people like Playground Yu-Gi-Oh because you could you could project your personality in your deck.
my
Like you could build a cute girl deck because other reasons why, like maybe your family, everyone else doesn't let you be the cute girl that you want to be. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, you could build like a waifu cute deck, and no one would really judge you because, oh, you got that cool waifu deck. Hell yeah, brother. You know,
yeah,
or if you like certain things, So I feel like there's this disconnect that is, I'm not trying to deny you as a person whenever I say change your deck. I'm saying if you want to get results, find a better deck. Don't just go mix it with the best decks and thinking it's going to work because it's not. Because you're just now, you might be making your worst deck better, but I don't think you are because even playing a worse deck probably do better than a better deck if you just have the right conditions. I'm not
yeah,
saying any deck can top, but like Mimi Goal in particular, a more pure version of that deck is pretty scary. Like I had that hand control one that was really obnoxious.
yeah. And then the
I'm sure
one,
if I was a better player, I could have probably really gotten with it.
the also like the was it the Cash Tira one, and it's very very minimal Cash Tira cards. It's literally Unicorn and one birth. Got a top. It got like first or second. It got like top four at. Granted, it was an Australian regional, so it was a lot smaller event, but it got a top. But yeah, it got results. I'm not saying it's a perfect thing, but like it got results. So I think overall though, it you could learn a deck and learn to play it very well. Um, and you might get results with it, you might not. It just depends on the deck's ceiling and the deck's floor, right? So
Yeah,
like So there's decks that have insane ceilings, but if they get like hand trapped once or twice, the whole deck falls apart. I was trying to tell our one of our buddies at the locals, your deck's not good because two interactions will stop the deck entirely if they and everything. Your deck has very obvious choke points. So it's that's the issue with your deck. It has these obvious choke points. You're running way too many cards in it. They're running 48 cards. I'm a believer that while you can go over 40 because we have enough consistency tools to do so, you should try to keep it as close to 40 as you can still. Like you should still try to run the optimal number as low as possible. It's okay to go over, but you should try to lower it too. I'm a believer that like 44 is like the maximum I want to go, and I don't even like doing that. So,
yeah.
uh, but I will admit something. I thought Dominus Impulse wasn't gonna be as good. I'll admit it. That card's a lot better than I thought it was. I'll admit
I
that I
saw
was
what
wrong.
it did to me.
Um, I still don't think Dominus Purge is good at all. But
No, Purge is awful. Impulse though, if your deck can run it, it should be running it.
yeah. Um, But yeah, I think overall it's a fine. It's a good card. Uh, Best way to improve at Yu-Gi-Oh, honestly, is just to play at locals, if you have locals, or play online, and don't scoop online just because you're facing a meta deck. Actually play against it. Let them kick your ass. Let them beat you, That's fine.
Let the bitterness make you better at the game.
Yeah, it's fine, right? That you lose. Learn to take a loss, and then learn. We've talked about learning to accept a loss before, so I won't go into too much. But learning to accept a loss is pretty important, and learning from your losses is even more important. And we've already kind of gone over that in a previous episode, so I won't like dwell on that one too much. But if your whole argument for why you don't like a deck is meta bad, then you're not improving as a player. You gotta accept
No.
you gotta accept that kind of stuff. Meta is good because no matter what you do, there will always be a meta in a card game. No matter what hits you do, no matter what happens, there is a meta. Because what meta means is the most effective tactics available. Chess has a meta.
And 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 as a thing to that, if you want to play a unique deck, you can. Because I know a guy that plays Trickstars, and he's kicked my ass with it. I've seen him kick people's asses with it. Came to my locals and was wrecking face with it till the last round. But what his deck does is he drags you down into the freaking rogue swamp with him. I'm burning you, and we're coming down into this swamp more. You're playing on my terms.
It is
That,
great.
and I watched them hand loop and take their hand away from them with the reincarnation and draw and lock. That's probably the most scary thing we ever taught that guy.
Yeah.
Wait, you could do that? Yeah.
Um one of our other friends who used to play Yu-Gi-Oh quit and came back pretty much for because he borrowed a deck and it was like a bad version of Mermails after the new support and just to play locals and fell in love with the game again because
It's always Mermails that brings him back.
it is he was quitting the game. Last time he was about to quit the game and everything, or he quit for like a year, not even a year. He quit for like a few months, just like he did with this one, almost a year. And then Neptibus came out and it brought him back, and he kind of stayed with it. He didn't like and everything after he got really into Mermails and kept playing it. And then once he realized Mermails weren't gonna get him anywhere, he kind of started he slowed down on playing a little bit and kind of sporadically kept his decks, but like sporadically played. And then he got really into, I think, Sky Striker or something. No, I remember what it was. He stopped playing Magic. That's what it was. He stopped playing Magic.
Yeah.
And so he just was like, I'm gonna just go full into Yu-Gi-Oh. He went into Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, and he stuck with it until shortly after Tier Laments. Like right after Tier got hit is ironically when he like stopped playing as much. And I think it's cuz Yu-Gi-Oh so you like right after so we hit a tier 0 format and then we went from tier 0 to like cash tier where it's zone locking and it's not like that fun of a format into like we got like a really really expensive format and he was just like I'm done too. Yu-Gi-Oh's getting way too expensive. And I think that was like the nail in the coffin for him is how expensive
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh was like during the time or whatever. Or he might have kept playing after that for a little bit, but I know that he was he stopped having fun in the middle of last year as much. And I know he had a bunch of personal stuff going on. We won't go into that. Um or was that earlier this year? I think he played until like early this year, and then a bunch of the personal stuff happened, and then he just kind of decided,
I can't remember. I try not to get too much into people's business.
yeah. Um, but yeah, he had a lot
I
of
just get
personal stuff
sad when I
happen,
lose the Yu-Gi-Oh
and so he
players.
just kind of quit Yu-Gi-Oh. He focused more on, you know, work and video games and his family, and now he's back. It's just kind of funny that that's how it works. Um,
Yu-Gi-Oh is one of those games that'll draw you back in if you're around it. If he
Yeah,
really wanted to quit Yu-Gi-Oh, he would have just left the freaking Facebook group with us.
yeah. He's
Then he wouldn't have had any exposure to it.
he's not like it's not like me where like I have zero interest in getting into back into like certain things, right? So like Magic, I don't really have an interest in getting back into Magic. I do still like looking at like new cards coming out and all that. I don't get excited over them still at all. But
But Storm, Michael.
yeah, I guess. But there's also the same thing with League of Legends. So I played League of Legends for from 2014 to like I played it consistently from 2014 till 2020. And then I kind of played it sporadically and I quit like a year and a half ago. Like fully, pretty much. And I re-downloaded the game for like a little bit for someone because they just like, I want to play. We haven't hung out or talked in a while, and I want to play games with you again. I was like, well, I'll re-download League, and then I uninstalled League shortly after that because I was like, I really don't miss this game. But League of Legends taught me an important thing when leaving and coming back like that. About game design. So like I noticed something about League where while I don't enjoy playing it because of the direction that the game headed, similar to Magic, I enjoy the base mechanics of the game, but I also think it's because I spent so many years learning them to the point that every time I've tried to play a new MOBA, which is the genre League's in, I can't get back into them, and I think it's because for League of Legends, the only reason I got into it is because all my friends played it at the time, and they're like, you need to get past a certain hurdle and everything, and then find like a character that you like playing, and then you'll love it. So I go, all right, and I hit. I not having fun. I hit level 12. I go, this is a little bit more enjoyable. It's not like unbearable anymore. And then I hit like level 15 and found one of my first mains and I fell in love with the game for a long time. And then I slowly was falling out of love with it, but it took like 6 7 years. But um and Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of like the same way though. Bringing it back to Yu-Gi-Oh, it is to me it is easy to fall in love. I fell in love with Yu-Gi-Oh, I think actually around 2014. So like I played back in like on the playground and all that and play with what you had until 2000 and like 6, right? Uh Around goat format actually. I played with what I had and then 2007, 2008 rolls around and I go, yeah, I think I'm a little too old for Yu-Gi-Oh and everything.
That was a bad move.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? But I stopped playing it and then senior year uh I start playing it again, mainly because some of my friends were playing. I was like, yeah, we'll just play with what we have, and they have low powered stuff too. And then I start buying commons and everything, like 10-cent commons from local shops and stuff like that, and getting cards. And then I bought got a bunch of packs of those resealed packs, and pretty much built Black Wings out of them. Out of those 20 card, like one guaranteed holographic card out of these 21 cards and stuff like that. Yeah. Those resealed packs did that. And played Black Wings, and I had a water deck that wasn't very good and all that. And I was okay. Uh but come it's funny because like let's say I had this like janky water deck because I got the Atlantean structure deck, and then I just kind of put cards in. I was fun playing with the friends and all that, and I won. And then I built Black Wings, and then my friends were like, "Let's hold a tournament." Right? Let's hold a tournament for no prizes. We're just gonna play and kind of have a bracket system. And I was like, cool. And then I won because Black Wings were better than all the other decks there. The only one that had a chance was another that did well that day. Was another archetype deck, and it was ninjas. So, um, yeah. And so anyway, we do this. Then we had and then the first locals in our area in that we lived in. You lived in at the time. Now you don't live there anymore. I still kind of live somewhat nearby that area.
I missed that tournament somehow.
Yeah, there was like almost 30 people showed up, and we were like, "Oh wow, this is a crazy turnout. Didn't know there was this many." Well, we knew there was that many Yu-Gi-Oh players in the area because most of them hung out at the local library until they got kicked out because the guy, one of the guys, is just was shady. But anyway, that's a story for a
Went to
different
high
time.
school. Went to high school with him.
Yeah.
Could have told you that.
But he was so full of himself, and he didn't even get fourth place. That guy didn't. He didn't even get fourth. I got first. Dustin got second. Our buddy Dustin got second, and then one of the other people, tiebreakers, got him third, and then the guy that was the leader of their group, quote unquote, I think got fifth, and I think that really bruised his ego because he left and he never came back.
That
Um,
guy would never face me in games either because I beat him really bad once with a Destiny Hero deck I threw together overnight.
I think it's also because like because of that, right? So with if you were that much better than him, he didn't want to play you at all. So which goes back to playing better players, by the way, to get better. But he couldn't, he couldn't like arrange that, right? So where he always wanted to play against the weak players and be like, "Oh, look how better I am at you guys," and then would give them bad advice because I've heard it. He tried to give me bad advice, and I'm like, I don't prescribe to your terrible advice. But
Yeah,
um,
I beat him and I usually topped any tournaments he held.
yeah,
And it wasn't like I was proud of my freaking wins, but
that
he would
guy
never participate in anything I couldn't beat. I couldn't actually, get him to play me anymore. So
that guy got kicked out of the public library for holding tournaments and actually spend forcing people to have entry fees instead of just doing free tournaments and just having fun.
yeah,
So there's like a public library, they won't kick you out if you're not causing a disturbance, but but when you start charging people money, then it becomes an issue and you're soliciting on a property. So
yeah.
um but
He
yeah.
did a tournament at another area place and charged money, and I went there, and I was like, "That's fine." If you managed to find a place to do a tournament that wasn't the library,
Mhm.
I mean, I won that tournament too because Macro Rabbit is a really good deck.
Yeah. But overall, I think it was around that time I like really felt I started falling in love with the game. I was getting excited for new cards that I saw getting released. I would get excited. I would see like this weird card and I'd go, "Oh, I could build the whole deck around it," and would sit down and would go on Dev Pro at the time of all things and sit there and like build and figure out how to build decks and stuff like that, and just was like, I'm gonna keep trying and try and tweak and try to get this card to work and stuff like that. If I got real excited about it, if I got my ass kicked while playing on Dev Pro or online, I wouldn't get upset. I would actually build that deck and everything. I'd either look up a deck list or I'd copy the deck list that beat me, play it for a little bit, try to figure out kind of the some of the ins and outs of it, and try to understand it and everything. One of the decks I used to hate, by the way, before I actually started, before I started doing that, I would just get I would do what a lot of casual people do, right? Where they get frustrated that they lost. Well, one of the decks I went, I'm gonna play this deck and I'm gonna figure out why I lost, why I keep losing to this deck. Because I hate this deck so much and it's my most hated deck, and that was Mermails. I was like, I was so upset that I kept losing to Mermail, and I could never, it never felt like I could beat them. And then I played it, right? I copied a deck list and I played it, and I went, I understand why I can't beat this. This deck is all, and this deck is super fun, damn it. Like, so it was one of the
Yeah.
things. My, how, and after that, I found out, you know, one of the reason I found out I loved spellbooks so much. This was in like 2013, but back when I was playing on Dueling Network, right? But is someone played me? I was playing on the ranked ladder. I was using a bat deck, and I ran into spellbooks, and they completely destroyed me. I was used to playing against dragon rulers, bad dragon ruler players, so I could usually beat them. But the spellbook player just absolutely destroyed me, and I was like, that deck looked awesome. And then I copied their deck list, or I copied a deck, and and all that. Um, well, I tried playing pure, and it was really really bad. And the only reason it worked was because of Judgment. And then Judgment got banned, and I went, I don't know how to play this deck because my version sucks without Judgment and everything. And so I looked up a deck list and then learned how to play that one, and all that. And I was like, this is much better, and started getting really good with that. But I did that a lot on Dueling Network, and then on Dev Pro as well. I started like downloading decks, learning how to play them in and out, and I was playing a lot of Hat. It's like Firewater, Hat, all that kind, all the way up to like Necros format. I played online a lot, and I went to locals a lot. And I think that that was like what really like solidified my love for the game, because there's only been like 2 points in all of Yu-Gi-Oh's history after I got back into the game where I really considered quitting, and it was uh and one was, I call it the year of FDKs, and that was when we had the
Ah,
firewall
that was awful.
FDKs. Yeah, the firewall FDKs, all the hand loops and stuff like that, and it just felt really bad. We had the Gumblar hand loops, we had the FDKs, and we had the Goki extra links, all all in 1 year's time span, and it all felt like it sucked to play against. Um, and then Trooper got unbanned.
That was the biggest meme. We
Oh,
always joked it, and then it happened,
it
and
went,
you did it.
well, it went from 1 to 3. That's what it was, right?
Because I remember we had the conversation. I said, if Trooper ever became unbanned, we will have to play a Droop Duke Scoop deck. And you went, yes, we will. And we didn't think it would ever happen.
And then it came undone, and I sat there and I brewed and I brewed and I poured so much energy into that deck. And we played toss format, and that deck still fucks. Like, it's,
Oh, dude, that deck is so obnoxious.
that deck is still fucking gas. I got
Like
nibbed, and I
you
still
made
built my board.
you made what's her nut on me, and I'm like, why? And you're like, oh, I should have been playing her the whole time, but I couldn't afford her.
Yeah, Appaloosa was legal on toss, and so was Nat Beast. So I made Appaloosa
And
and
that
Nat
piece
Beast
Appaloosa is so freaking frustrating.
for material Appaloosa too. I made the freaking hard way, just all four, no link monsters, just all four monsters. Just because that deck can just throw
God,
out materials. But yeah, I that's what, like, that deck is still fucking awesome. Oh man, I even put hand traps in it too, and like the side because I know how to side deck now a lot more than I did back then. So I even have like droll and stuff like that in the side deck.
That's just awful.
So
Yeah, no, you're so much better at the game now. It's spooky.
uh so now that I'm so much better and I understand not only how to side deck, how to use hand traps a lot better, and all that, I can actually side them. I still don't want to main deck them because I can play through most stuff. Like for like most hands, I can play through some things. A well timed Ash I can't, but Cold Buy's at 3 in that format, so
Don't remind me of the hellscape that is that format.
but yeah, that I've started having fun with Toss just because of Troop Dupe Scoop, and that's what revitalized my love for the game. And then the second time I thought about quitting actually was right before Tier Element got released, like Tier and Sprite got released, because we went and we played at that one Portland regional, and I had such a bad time at that Portland regional, and I was so miserable at that format in general that even playing online sucked. Um, that I really just didn't like that format. And then Parliament and Sprite uh started doing well in the Sprite was a tier 0 deck in the OCG. And I can't explain why. There's no real reason for it. I think it's just they didn't really understand tier limit because Sprite didn't even really get hit, and all of a sudden, and tier limit started slowly creeping up on them, and then they finally did hit Sprite a little bit, and the tier became the best deck over there instantly. Whereas here, it was like us and tier, like Sprite and tier, like immediately, like 50-50. So like,
I think it's because Sprite could bring out Max C,
yeah, um,
and basically you've made a Max C turbo deck, and that's, in case you didn't know, that's a pretty powerful deck.
but yeah, and then tier limit coming out revitalized my love for the game. Tier getting hit, I went, well, now I don't know what I want to do anymore. I don't know what I want to play. Uh, I still I still played here, and then I got the stuff for Exo Sisters. Once the tins came out, I got Gold Pride Punk as well, and all that, and I started playing Gold Pride Punk. That deck was really fun, and then I went back to playing Tier Lament right during the Fiendsmith stuff, right after Fiendsmith came out. And I still play tier. I have Tempai. Uh Overall very fun. I haven't lost my love for the game yet. I haven't thought about quitting again. Um but I think it's just cuz I enjoy tier so much that like at the very least even if tier is not competitive again because of the hits, I honestly think it's fine. Um 'Cause I enjoy that deck so much that like I could play that deck almost forever. Same thing with maybe not like forever, but I do like the Gold Pride Punk deck. And I don't think I'll ever fully quit Yu-Gi-Oh now because of domain format. Shout out to domain. They're having a tournament
I mean,
soon.
at the worst, you can play Domain.
Yeah.
Like, and there's always people you can play against, and there's all fun decks you can play in Domain. I don't play it as much, but
I
you know,
I haven't been playing it a ton either. But domain is having a tournament on the 26th. If any of our listeners are domain format fans, and you're part of the Discord, and you missed that announcement, that's something to keep in mind. You get custom Evil Twins sleeves and a Field Center. Um, it for is for the winner, and if you hit and if they get 16 people, They will also give away a walnut domain deck box. So
Hmm.
keep that in mind if you guys enjoy domain format and stuff like that. But I think we've rambled on long enough. It's been an hour and
Oh
5 minutes. If it's your birthday today, happy birthday. And of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.